Okay. So in this video, I'm going to explain how you can read books and papers efficiently, which is going to be useful for not only paper presentation assignment, but in general through your study and maybe in the life as well. So why I'm going to explain this is that because it's quite daunting to read all the things that you want to read every time. And I've seen that myself and also my students are struggling to deal with limited time for reading and also the outcome that you want to obtain. So the most important kind of suggestion is this thing: spending some time before reading them. What do I mean by that? So before you start, decide reading this in a particular paper or book. Write down that why you want to read this book or paper. Just again, sort of a motivation first. Okay, and when you download the paper or download the book or whatever, prepare to motivated to read the book, that's the clearest time that your motivation that's a time that your motivation is the clearest. So just write down why you wanted to read this book, and then clarify that what you want to learn from it, and then after reading this, what's the sort of achieved goal that you're imagining. That's the most important thing to write. And then when, let's say, after starting to read this 1 hour or so, you get tired, and then you need to reread from, let's say, chapter 2, or from method part. Then come back to this kind of original motivation, and then that clarifies the reason why you are losing reading, losing motivation for reading. Maybe it's the case that the book or paper was not what you wanted in the beginning. The content might be completely betraying your expectation, and if that's the case, just stop reading it over there. And then also, before reading, it's important to write and list up what you expect to learn from that book. And then this is possible to do even just skimming through title and table of contents of the book or abstract and figures in the paper. And then explicitly making your expectation helps you to also make sure that when you want to stop reading this paper or book. What I mean by that. So let's say as you read the book or paper, also you have a next session where what you didn't expect to learn or worth reading in the beginning. And then if you encounter the part of the book or papers that you don't really it doesn't provide you anything useful, maybe it's too much details, or maybe unexpected, but it's completely irrelevant from what you're wanted to learn, then just don't read that part, or just stop reading that thing. And this allows you to cross out many of the things that you wanted to read initially, but turns out to be not so useful to learn or read. And then, for example, this is a particular paper, that I wanted to read. Jennifer Wind, my colleague, who is a philosopher and then studying the dreams in trends in cognitive science. And then, but what I did, so I listed why I wanted to read this book, because I want to present this paper at some kind of journal club. And then also I wanted to know a broader background on dream research. And then what I imagine that I can do after reading this is that I can understand the current status of the dream research, and also what it's like to study dream from an interdisciplinary perspective, like combining philosophy, psychology, and neuroscience. Before reading this, I had some kind of idea, but I wanted to go into a little bit deeper. And then also I want to add, the broader background to a particular paper that I want to present to the lab, in terms of the background. And then here, I specifically wrote down that, okay, so in this particular section, Jenny would write something like this. And then I probably will need to read this part. And then as I read it, then if my expectation is completely matching, then I can skip some of them. But it turns out that this paper was pretty good, so I went through all of them. Okay, but having this kind of expectation and also motivation clearer allowed me to focus on reading this paper, and also I could write, take a notes very effectively when my expectation was violated. Okay, so important thing to remember throughout this exercise is that don't try to read the entire book, okay, or paper. Um, it's just most of the cases your motivation and also the content of the book does not match perfectly 100%. So spending time, like as I said, before reading the book, allows you to focus which one of the chapters or section is most important. And then for that, prepare reading practice is going to be very useful. And then read only the relevant parts. And then going back and forth between, the relevant part is going to be most useful to prepare for the, presentation or understanding the topic. And then sometimes you encounter some kind of, difficult concepts or terminology, and then you go to different kind of paper or different kind of, sources like Wikipedia and so on, or YouTube, to understand the contents. That definitely helps you understand the paper or book. But what if you do that? The danger is that you lose what you wanted to get out of it from the beginning. And then in that case, you just come back to your original motivation that you wrote and then continue. That's much easier to keep your motivation. And then the guidance wise, if it turns out that the contents of the paper or book, 80% of them are going relatively fast, and so you can understand and you can expect that, and then 20% is more challenging and learning new things and making you think about it. That's a really good book to read or a paper to read. But if it's too easy or too difficult, you need to change. That's going back to the different sources or papers, a book or Wikipedia, and then come back to that. That's the probably better way of making a progress. Okay, that's it for this short video.